Hey everyone, welcome to Darkling Alley. We're back for episode 4 of our Alan Wake post-gameplay discussion and recap.
And for those joining us for the first time, this video series also serves as a lead-up to a much bigger project that we currently have in store. We did do a full gameplay, but we understand that gameplays can be extremely time-consuming and hard to watch. So in these recap videos, we focus only on key points and interesting finds. In our recap of episode 3, we revealed a backward message that we're so excited to share. We're currently doing videos on Remedy games only in preparation for Alan Wake 2. Not gonna lie, focusing on games from only one developer makes growing our channel a little bit more challenging. This is a temporary situation, but we hope that the content we currently turn out is enjoyable and fun for all viewers. If you like what you see, please consider subscribing. It's not only extremely appreciated, but it also goes a long way in helping our channel grow. So in our last video, we did forget to mention a small detail, and that is a difference in the reporting of the 1970 Bright Falls earthquake. In the Alan Wake files, locals had also reported no fatalities after the event, but in the sign at the coal mine, it does say that there were fatalities. So there's two different accounts of history, and we thought that was important to point out.
So after waking up in Cauldron Lake Lodge, we mentioned how it looks like Alan has something pouring out of his head. He took a really long fall, and it's a miracle that he, and his phone, for that matter, could have even survived that. He could have suffered another head injury, but we never see this again. In fact, his clothes look dry. His only complaint is feeling groggy from some medication that he said Hartman gave him. I would think he'd be more than just groggy from a fall like that. That's gotta hurt.
Yeah, I don't know how you even survive that, honestly. I mean, what did we say? It was like 1,005 feet. I had to add the 5 extra feet. But yeah, that wasn't like the first time you felt like that, right? Like, yeah. I think he even said at one point that he's fallen off so many cliffs. So Alan is either like a really amazing stunt person or he's just really lucky. And just a quick note, Alan remarks about the typewriter and how the pages were blank. But in previous scenes, we see that he tends to keep his fresh sheets of paper on the right side of his typewriter and his completed pages on the left side. So since the stack of paper was on the left side of the typewriter, he may have seen this as an indicator that he hadn't been writing. Likely, Hartman or another staff member set up Alan's workspace incorrectly. Now, Hartman seems to know everything that Alan has been experiencing, so it makes us wonder how much of the manuscript does he actually have. We know people have been finding them around town, and it isn't made clear. What version does he have? And honestly, this applies to anyone who has found a manuscript page that Zane was apparently trying to deliver to Alan, but had some oopsies along the way. You might remember that in, what is our first video? That we see a manuscript page fall in a cutscene. It falls behind Sheriff Breaker when she's responding to Alan's phone call from Stuckey's, and he'll never be able to go back and pick up that manuscript page. So it could be the same version, the same one he picked up, or it might be a different version. So we're not sure.
We'll never know.
Nope. Hartman mentions a storm coming that he said wasn't in the forecast, but later, Pat mentions on the radio that the storm was expected. And Hartman has a generator ready to go, so he kind of knows something. As a matter of fact, he even mentions, I think in a manuscript page, Alan mentioned something about Hartman knowing that Alan was writing and was prepared for this sort of thing. And this one is really cool. I really love this, and I haven't heard it explained or pointed out before. But there's a photo right here above this woman who looks like she's actually in the picture. Maybe she was a former employee from way back. I don't know. But there's a man on the right-hand side, and he looks kind of out of place. As a matter of fact, it doesn't even look like he was in the picture in the first place. Like maybe they had some old version of Photoshop. I don't know. But I wondered at times if maybe this is Thomas Zane. I don't know. He is not familiar. We don't see him anywhere in the game. That doesn't necessarily mean anything, but he's there, and we know that we're told that Emil Hartman was his assistant at some point. Not sure what kind of assistant, but that's just what we're told. So yeah, we're kind of curious about this guy here.
Yeah. A picture possibly suggesting alternate realities is found in the hall right after talking to Emerson.
And it kind of reminds me of something from Control that Dylan said. All right, so the Anderson brothers, they give Alan a manuscript page and they tell him about the Baba Yaga.
Oh, I just noticed. Leather patches on the elbows? That's not very rock and roll.
Tom just lost is all. Baba Yaga got to him too, the damn witch.
She used us all. Taken from all of us. Took my thunder, the witch.
And my ravens, what were they? Memory and thought, the hag.
She took something from you too, didn't she? That's what she does.
Now, I say Baba Yaga because we have a friend of the family, well, at least of my family, that is from the Ukraine. We asked him about the Baba Yaga. He told us that that's how it's actually pronounced. And he said that to this day, even, parents will tell their children about the Baba Yaga and how she will or it will, because there's no she, it's more like an it. Mm-hmm. There's the Baba Yaga or a Baba Yaga. So anyway, we'll just keep it as a her for now. And that she'll eat bad children. And when he has a younger brother, and when he found out that, you know, kind of like Santa Claus, that Baba Yaga is not a real thing, he, instead of telling his little brother, he just let him go ahead and believe it. Which is like a total sibling thing to do, and I thought it was really funny. So, but yeah, he told us a little bit about, you know, the history, which is basically a little bit what we've heard in research, and it didn't even dawn on me to ask him, but when we did, it was pretty entertaining and fun. But he said that that's how they pronounce it, Baba Yaga, not Baba Yaga. So we're just going to go with that. It might sound weird, but that's what we were told straight from someone from the Ukraine who actually grew up with this story. So
sounds like a good way to keep your kids in line.
Yeah. I mean, if I thought someone was going to come eat me if I was bad, that would be pretty terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So if you got some kids acting up, you didn't hear it from us.
No. We said nothing. So Tor mentions wanting to go home. And we're going to explain a little bit about a home for them. Again, if you've seen anyone explore the game in free camera mode, it will show where Tor and Odin are supposed to live, where their farm is supposed to be. And it's like way up north of Watery. So, but we know that in the story, it isn't quite that far. As a matter of fact, when you look at the map, you can see like the roads exactly how they're laid out when you go to their farm. And the question is, these two old geezers, right? They're called old geezers. They're called old farts. I mean, they're called all, you know, everything like in the game. So how are they getting to the Oh Dear Diner and from the Cauldron Lake Lodge all the way to their house? I mean, even if it is near, you know, where they show in the game, which is closer to Elderwood National Park, how are they getting there?
Those old geezers have a souped up hover round. That's how they're doing it.
No. Is that one of those things that you stand on?
No, that's a Segway. The hover round is for those geezers that, you know, one of those little motorized scooters.
Huh. And they hover?
They don't.
I'm not familiar with this stuff, and I don't want to be for a long time. So a hover around or...
Yeah, the hover round, it's just a motorized scooter that old geezers use to get places. Both Tord and Odin, I think they put a turbo in there. So.
It's like NOS.
Yeah.
They've got it all. Yeah, they would have to. Actually, what I think is more likely is that Hartman brought them to, you know what I mean? Because he found out that Alan Wake was in town. He probably brought them as a distraction, but we don't know for sure because there's a lot of details missing. So he might have brought them and took them to the diner or whatever and used that as a reason to come to town. Mm-hmm. So to find Alan Wake. So we don't know, but that could be.
So here Emerson has some things to say about the creative process and outside interference that's worth listening to.
I'm a bad dream and you can't wake up. You can't heard of nightmare because all dreams are only imagination. They're only in your head and they're not there when you wake up. So you can't wake up because I'm in charge now and I don't want to disappear. My nightmare is the publisher people who want to make a contribution so they can say they made a contribution. And then we end up with mullets in there because they think mullets are funny, but it wasn't supposed to be about mullets, and now it's about mullets. And when it's in slow motion, they call it mullet time because the numbers came back from marketing that mullet time is the hook we needed to go big in the target demographic. And they're not even kidding. They say it all like serial killers with straight faces and smiles. My nightmare is the writers who want to make everything from the characters to the toasters talk all the time and express their feelings so they won't shut up. And the writers won't shut up either because they have feelings too. And I have to listen to them because they're not scared of me. And everyone should just shut up. Shut up. Shut up. But I don't see nightmares anymore because I'm too scary for them. I take 2 pills every morning and 1 with every meal and 4 when I go to bed. And that makes me the scariest nightmare of all.
Yes. And this has been done in, songs and other like movies and things like that, where there'll be messages in there. There'll be messages in there about like how frustrating the creative process is and the power struggle. So this is an interesting thing, and I think that it was a good piece to have in there. So that's just my opinion. Whatever. Yeah. Let's move on. So moving on, Rudolph Lane painting a picture of Alan that doesn't really look like Alan. As a matter of fact, I'd say it looks more like the guy in the picture. But who knows? So Hartman refers to him as an illustrator, illustrating what Alan has been seeing or creating. And his fate is explained in the comic Psycho Thriller. Now, I know they said that wrong last time. I said Psycho Killer, but we actually did correct it. It just comes up on a text on the screen. So yes, Psycho Thriller, the comic. And it is explained in there what happens to him.
If you guys haven't read that comic, it's really good. Definitely recommend it.
Yeah, and the other one is Night Springs?
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, both really good. All of any kind of outside game material that you can get your hands on and you're really interested in the lore and the mysteries surrounding Alan Wake, that's the best thing you can do. As a matter of fact, I recommend it. And I hate saying this since we're making videos, but I do recommend it over just watching videos only because you'll get a much better understanding, especially of the Alan Wake files. There's so much great information. I know we've recommended it before, and I absolutely stand by that. It was so helpful and so insightful. A lot of really great information and backstory that will probably change your opinion about a lot of things. So go get it. Download it. Actually, it's downloadable, right? So there we go. Easy. Okay, so we have another Writer in the Cabin episode. This one is important, really important. So we're going to go ahead and play it. This one is where Alan realizes he's being deceived, and you just have to listen for yourself. So here we go.
Something's wrong. I'm not myself. It's hard to think that there's a shadow inside my head. I can only focus on writing. Everything else is a blur. I'm trapped in this cabin. Have been for days, but it's always dark outside. My editor is real. I saw her again. She's not human. It's not human. A dark presence is wearing the old woman's face. She was covered in clinging shadows. There's a hole in her chest where her heart should be. I think I've made a horrible mistake. I don't think I'm any closer to saving Alice. It's been lying to me, using me to get the story it wants, and the story will come true.
He looks really freaked out.
And we have the Anderson brothers coming to Alan's rescue. And here they call him Tom again.
Yes, the backstage is all his. He's got to seize his destiny. So they went from being doped up or whatever they were to warriors coming to Alan's rescue. So very interesting stuff. Okay, so here's one of my favorite things. Alan finds a room filled with several paintings, many of which seem like they may be foreshadowing to what's coming in Alan Wake 2. I point out potential enemies for part 2 in the paintings that Alan finds, like werewolves and cult members. This one particular one looks more like maybe a witch or something, or someone that would practice black magic. I don't know. I don't want to make any assumptions about what they wear, but I mean that's just how it appears. I think that's like kind of like the stereotypical how one might appear. That's into that kind of stuff. Yeah. So, but yeah, there was talks about werewolves before. A lot of werewolf talk actually in paintings. There's paintings in the lodge. There's paintings even at the Anderson house. So my understanding is that they considered werewolves. I'm not sure if we'll see them, but maybe we will.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, they even come up in Control as well.
That's right, they do. Yeah, it was Riche, right?
Mm-hmm, that's right, yeah. We show how Alice's tape isn't in the recorder, unless there are several recordings, but Alan doesn't say. And the recorder isn't even plugged in.
Yeah, that's really weird.
And you also notice while the recorder's playing that it's flashing red. And typically, red means record and green means play. But in this instance, it's not.
It's reversed.
Yeah.
That's messed up. They have some really up equipment back then. And this is only 2010, right? So
yeah.
Have things really changed that much?
Maybe Hartman didn't have a very big budget.
Maybe everything is just backwards. Maybe. Likely.
Mm-hmm.
This is Alan Wake. So Barry is locked in a room next to Hartman's office. And it's funny because he's hiding behind the cardboard standee of Alan that he stole from Rose to piss her off. So I guess for drugging them. So anyway, I do have some theories about why he'll take the standee with him everywhere he goes from this point up until jail?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's most especially when Alan is not with him. So like I said, I have some theories. I will include that in our writing analysis. But we did actually explain some of this in our gameplay. So if you want to know a little bit more, go watch. Can't tell you anything else. We also talked about how Barry enters the darkness. When Alan sends him away, he doesn't actually go back through the room where the standee is, where they came from. He goes into this completely pitch black room. And you would think, oh, well, with the Taken, with the Dark Presence, that's a really dangerous place to go. And this will not be the first time that Barry goes into a completely dark place by himself and is completely unharmed. And we'll talk more about that later. But Alan will notice, if you watch him really carefully, he watches Barry go into that room. And then he has this kind of like moment. If you watch his facial expressions, they did a really good job. And it's like he has this moment of realization that, I don't know, that we kind of theorized a little bit that maybe, depending on what kind of powers he has, we don't know a lot of details. There's a lot of things we don't know. But it's possible that if he has the ability to summon the Dark Presence, maybe, that he did so to attack Hartman to get away. But we know that's a bit of a stretch. We will get into that in the writing analysis, I promise you. Like I said, we talk about this more. We talk about how it looks like he even, after he realizes the darkness in the room where Barry goes, it looks like he even, readies himself to, run. Like he knows what's coming up. Mm-hmm. Unless he remembers this from a previous, loop, because if he's looping time loop like on American Nightmare, if he's remembering something or if he's actually creating this, I guess we'll find out more, hopefully in Alan Wake 2. I'm really excited to learn more about him.
Yeah, here we actually have 2 episodes of Night Springs that Alan can watch while escaping the lodge. We're just going to address the first one because it has to do with something we talk a lot about: time loops. This episode in particular is called The Doomed Samaritan, and it depicts time loops that the host refers to as a vicious cycle.
Yeah, because that's exactly what you do when the lodge is being attacked by the Dark Presence. I mean, what if the building was on fire?
Oh, man.
You stop and watch TV. That's just what you do.
That's the natural thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot miss an episode of Night Springs. Mm-mm. They're that important. So, but actually they are.
Yeah.
I keep saying watch them, and I mean it. So there.
He didn't want to wait for a rerun.
No. Maybe he thinks I'm not going to make it out of this in time for a rerun, so yeah. I don't know, whatever. Let's move on. So, how did this happen? Barry has the standee, but he was sent out of the lodge through a different room. So does that mean he actually came back and got it? You know, through like the lodge was being attacked by the darkness. So he actually came back and got the standee just to take it with him?
I guess he's got his priorities.
I guess so. Like I said, I have a theory about why he actually needs it. But I don't know for sure. It's just a theory. Yeah, I mean, he braved the attack from the Dark Presence just to get that damn thing.
He must have really wanted it.
Yes. So, how exactly does this happen? Like, how did he just fall out of the truck? You know, I mean, I get that, like, I'm not talking about the car accident. Like, I get that the Dark Presence was, like, throwing rocks at him and stuff, but he just falls out of the truck. And he's, like, not hurt. That's just too weird.
Yeah. I don't think Alan was wearing a seatbelt.
I don't think they ever wear seatbelts.
No, he needs to buckle up for safety.
Okay, so this is my favorite episode of The Rider in the Cabin. And it is when in-game Alan, or our playable character, finds out that he had written himself into the story as the protagonist. So that is super, super important. Definitely keep that one in mind. It will be covered in my analysis of Alan's writing. Also, I have to apologize for this, but I got a little bit ahead of myself in our last video. And I said there was an episode of Rider in the Cabin in that video, and I said that that's where Alan refers to Zane as a poet, and a good one. So that's this episode. So we're cool now. We're on track.
On the radio, Pat announces a missing person that fits Alice's description. Though he doesn't say what she might be wearing, this is the first time we hear anything about it. And we never spot any missing persons posters around town regarding Alice. Now remember, Alice has been missing for over a week at this point.
Well, of course he's not going to say what she was wearing, because she wasn't wearing anything.
Right.
I mean, besides a tank top and some panties, right? She wasn't wearing anything other than that when she went missing. I mean, I don't know. I guess just look for a blonde woman that looks confused.
Yeah. That's a good enough description right there.
Well, you know, all she has to do is look like an out-of-towner. I mean, everybody knows each other. Alan even said so himself at the beginning. So if you see a strange woman that you don't recognize, that's probably who he's talking about.
Yep.
That took a lot of insight. I thought a lot about that one. And of course, we cannot talk about Alan Wake without mentioning
the stage fight.
Yes, we unfortunately had to mute the audio. This was very sad because this segment is awesome. It's like probably everyone's most favorite.
Oh, absolutely.
But those who have played this game probably would agree that this encounter will totally make you feel like a badass. Like, fighting taken to some legit rock music, pyrotechnics, a fire-breathing dragon set piece. I mean, come on. This encounter was a blast. It really is an excellent and well-placed highlight in the game.
One thing I can absolutely say about the stage fight, that was awesome.
I love that. I love how they use that in Control as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for the ashtray maze.
Yes, I loved that.
Best part of the game.
So again, I mentioned in our gameplay that Barry ends up locked in the silo and everything is put back together. I'm pretty sure this is the way they came in. And that door back there is where the one that Alan had to go through to get upstairs, and then they had to go around. Barry seems to always get in front of Alan. Do you notice that? He carries that standee around, and he always ends up getting past these obstacles that Alan has to go through. Anyway, so we're going to move on to The Poet and the Muse, the song. Now, we think that this is important to hear all the lyrics and to remember who's writing it, because that's super, super important. And I'm, again, I keep saying this again. It'll be in my writing analysis. Okay, everyone. This is my most favorite part of the game, the dream. And you'll notice that it says the objective is to get to the cabin. Okay. So he's going to do that. But the objective changes to find out what happened to you, which is really, really a cool thing. And it's so fitting for this part. Notice that Alan disappears, which means that he doesn't get attacked by the birds. A lot of things do not happen in this part that happened before in the beginning of the game. So that's really important. Also, you'll hear multiple splashes, again, possibly from time loops. And we'll see that there's really no sign of Alice anywhere. He says that he remembers thinking that he saw her form in the water. And I think he also says later, he says that he thinks that he believed that she drowned. It's so weird because he's saying like he thinks maybe. He thinks this is probably what happened. And so it's like, well, do you remember it or not? But yeah, no signs of Alice at all. If you remember earlier, what was it? The first video that we did, we show the place where she puts her boots and her pants hanging up on the stairs. And here we're going to show that they're not there. Yeah. They're just not there. Like no sign of her at all. Now, I believe in the beginning we did show that the generator was still running when the lights went out. Mm-hmm. So that was weird already. There was no reason. We don't know what the screaming was about. They didn't allow us to see what Alan was seeing when he came through the door. But now we get to see that. And it really is a whole lot of nothing. He opens the door and all we hear is a scream. And we don't see anything. We hear her scream. We hear a splash in the water. We hear more splashes in the water, but we don't get to see a f***ing thing at all. And that, even though this is my favorite part of the game, it really bothers me. But I think I knew why. We even show here that the generator in this part of the game, I mean, it looks like it hasn't been used. Like it looks like it would never even run. Mm-hmm. Honestly, it doesn't look like anyone's been here. Yeah, you know what I mean?
I'm surprised it ran in the first place.
Oh, I know, right? Like in the beginning, like, yeah, it looked like, why would they have a I wouldn't want to, and they have no refrigerator either. That is like the most crappiest cabin ever. Mm-hmm. But it's on an island. It's romantic. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to get back up to the car, but it won't let you. And probably well understood why, but no, you can only investigate so much. And of course, there's a lot more rock formations here that resemble like hooded, human figures. There's a lot of those throughout the game, and it's pretty interesting. It's creepy too, but it is what it is. But a lot of things happen in this section of the game that are just really neat to think about and theorize about. Like when he disappears during certain sections, like when the birds are supposed to be attacking him. Yeah, see, no jeans. They're missing, or they were never there. So it's kind of like one of those things like you make the call, So, okay, so Barbara Jagger tells Alan that he killed Alice, but that he can simply write her back. And he just sort of believes it, Yeah. And at this point, it's kind of strange. He doesn't even, this is supposed to be the beginning, and he doesn't even really question who she is, And why is she there? And what is she talking about? He's just, I guess, distressed. And he kind of seems like he's in a trance a little bit in this section. So, yeah. But there's the owl. Night owl, day owl. But yeah, this section presents like it is a true nightmare. I mean, you hear screams of terror. The music is awesome. It's ominous and scary. We actually did an ASMR video, right? Yeah. We might have mentioned this before because we try to do one for every game that we play. that we do gameplay for. This one is one of the best. It's actually really relaxing, and like I think a lot of people actually really liked it and will even listen to it. So yeah, go check it out. You won't regret it. And in this part of the dream where Alan is escaping, he wrote Tom to come help him, or at least the person or the light in the suit that he calls Tom is safe. And again, we mentioned this parking job earlier. I don't know how he gets out, especially with the gate shut and that barrel behind him. If he were to back out, it would totally rip out the muffler and everything. But he manages to get out, and he's driving straight to the Cauldron Lake Lodge. That road, it only leads there. So right before his car accident. It's probably a good thing he got in the car accident, because if he would have made it to Cauldron Lake Lodge, then what? Hartman? You know? So could have turned out a lot different. Alan wakes up to Nightingale pointing a gun in his face, and he and Barry are hauled off to jail. We don't get to see them taken to jail, but that's what we're told happened. So that's it. That is the end of this episode. So there is something in the Alan Wake files, though, that suggests how Nightingale knew they were there. And it's really cool. I think I'll put in my writing analysis, maybe. Yeah, that would be a good place to put it. So if you have the Alan Wake files, you probably already figured it out what may be the case. I'm not saying that this is exactly how it happened, but it's likely how it happened. So read the Alan Wake files now. Just do it.
They're good.
Anyway, that's all we got for you. Until episode 5, coming up soon.
Darkling Alley, out.
Right. What he said.